Hello, my name is Myra Tanksley, and I'm recording this on May the 4th, 2014. And unfortunately, this is a continuing, um, ongoing, sordid uh, tale of corruption and ongoing abuse of my autistic son, who's illegally confined in a state of Ohio facility operated by the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. The facility is named Columbus Developmental Center, an intermediate care facility for MR. And my son was mislabeled as being moderately retarded. He is not moderately retarded. He is autistic. But to um, involuntarily commit an individual to CDC, they have to be moderately retarded. So he was mislabeled as being moderately retarded and also psychotic as well. So he's been there since the second time around, since November the 15th, 2012. The first time he was there, it was from late January to March the 10th, 2012. And that was a voluntary admission while they were modifying our home. So the second time around, he was illegally committed, and he's been treated like an animal by people that act like animals, because something is not working right in anybody's head that abuses and mistreats people that are disabled, or children, or people that are helpless. And my son is autistic. He can't control his behaviors. Their duty is to protect him and try to prevent the behaviors by having him be in an environment that's safe, that's humane, and that's appropriate for his needs as an autistic individual. So, I visited my son today on May the 4th, 2014. He told me that he had been slapped in the face by another resident named Matt Simon. Actually, Matt Simon have punched my son or has hit him in the face before, so this is a pattern. And I don't know, I know Matt is older than my son. My son just turned 21. Matt is in his early 30s. I don't know if he's 31, 32. But anyway, he's older. And, of course, it's up to the facility to be able to properly supervise and keep the residents in a safe environment. They should be free of all abuse from other residents, and including the staff. Now, I have an audio tape of Marquise, that's my son's name, being attacked and punched by a state worker. I actually seen this with my eyes because the Lord wanted me to see it, but he didn't want the thug that punched my son to know I was standing there, because he wouldn't have done it if he knew Mom was standing there. But God set him up, and I seen this and also audio tape it, and that is in the YouTube channel. So on this particular audio video, you will hear my son telling me that he was slapped in the face by Matt Simon, and then me immediately while my son was eating the lunch I brought him, the food that I bought him, I went and just told the CDC investigator, how it is. I just wasn't going to listen to this be belittled and downgraded and all this kind of stuff. I told him I know all about CDC. My son's been abused by staff. He's been abused by this same resident before. He's been treated like crap, so, and that I will be reporting it to the federal government, since they give the state of Ohio federal funds to operate their little state facilities. So the federal government needs to know about it, and they need to be doing something about it, because it's not all the state of Ohio's budget. They receive federal funding to operate these state facilities, and that includes Medicaid money. So I am going to be reporting that promptly, since my son is not able or allowed to be in an environment that is safe for him, where he's free from abuse and neglect and cruelty, and he has that federal civil right to be in a facility that is going to treat him humanely. And he didn't ask to be there. They illegally forced my son to be there. So here is Marquise telling me that he was slapped in the face by Matt Simon. And then I'm going to let you hear the tape of me going to the CDC investigator who was on site, on the grounds today, and just letting him know, reporting it, and just letting him know how I really feel. I'm a pretty pissed off mother that this stuff has been going on. My son's been abused continually, ongoing abuse, neglect, assaults, cruelty for almost a year and a half now. And nobody's doing anything about it. But I will continue to put it out there. I won't sweep it under the rug with solid evidence. So here we go with Marquise telling me that this resident hit him in the face or slapped him in the face. He also told me it hurt, and I also have a tape of one of the staff members that were on today telling me that he had heard that Matt Simon and my son had got into an argument or whatever. But so something did happen between Matt and Marquise. Marquise said it happened yesterday. He was also saying that one of the staff members named Evelyn was getting ready to restrain and tie him down. She's an abusive staff member. I have her on tape verbally trying to abuse Marquise. And actually she tried to also verbally abuse me, but I had to set her straight. And just very abusive. I watched this gal take my son's hand, was holding his hands. At first, when I first met her, she was very, I could tell she was very attracted to Marquise. Just wasn't appropriate with her interactions and what she was saying. And then holding his hand, and I said, well, that's not good to hold a resident's hand because people can make things out of that, especially if it's unwanted and stuff. But you got thieves over there, you got criminals, people that punch and beat and abuse the residents. They steal his clothes, and I'm talking specifically about Marquise now. They steal his clothes, he's been punched, he's been attacked. You know, there's all kind of abusers over there. Physical abusers, emotional abusers, probably sexual abusers if they can go that way. So you got a whole lot of criminals and just scum over there that work in these jobs. And that's from administration on down. So here's Marquise telling me that Matt Simon slapped me in the face. And then I will play the audio tape of me telling Ed Goodwin, who was a supervisor over there. They moved him because these people always move around different positions and stuff within the department, or either they leave. So now he's a CDC investigator. I told him I was not going to write a written statement. I wrote a written statement when Marquise was attacking and punched by the thug over there on December 1st, 2012, and it didn't mean anything. I said, I don't have to write a statement. I'm telling you about it. So he said, well, I'll write down what you're saying. But, these people all protect themselves. Nobody cares, They just do that so they can police themselves and stuff. But I said, I will let the federal government know, since they do give y'all federal funding. Let them know how well their money is being spent. So here we go with Marquise telling me he was punched or slapped in the face by Matt Simon, which is a resident. And you'll hear me telling Ed Goodwin, the investigator, about it. And then I went back about 2 minutes after I told him that, and told him that one of the staff members told me that he had heard that there was a problem between Matt Simon and Marquise. And I also requested to Ed Goodwin and told him that they should not have him around my son if he's going to keep attacking and physically abusing my son. And, well, all right, I'll just tell the superintendent, whoever that might be, because the corrupt superintendent wrote a letter saying he was going to move to another position within the department. So anyway, here we go. had to be happening. You were feeling something. Something was happening. What made you feel that way?
He smacked me in my face.
Who did?
Matt.
Matt Simon?
Yes.
Okay. So, he said that Matt Simon smacked him in his face. And my son, and I know they tell him that because Ed Goodwin used to do that. He's kind of reluctant to tell me stuff because they don't like him telling me stuff. And I have had to check employees right then and there when I would ask my son something and they would butt in and try to speak for him or try to intimidate him, like, don't tell mom nothing. So, and I had to tell him, no, you let him tell me. And then in a status meeting, I just told him that was there. I said, my son doesn't have to tell me he's being abused and neglected. I said, I can see with my own eyes that he's being abused and neglected when I come and visit him. I said, remember, I also seen him being punched in the chest. So don't even waste your time, you know. I said, even if he doesn't tell me anything, I already know what type of a facility this is, and it's an abusive facility. So after he told me that, I could tell that he didn't really, because sometimes it might be painful to bring up. But my son used to blurt out a whole lot of things. Now he's a little reluctant because I know they try to tell him, tell your mom you don't know or you don't remember and stuff. And then I tell him, I said, you can tell mom. And then he'll start talking. So after he said that, I went straight to the so-called CDC investigator that was on. His name is Ed Goodwin. And like I said, he used to be a supervisor. And I just kind of let him have the truth, nothing but the truth, and let him know, how I feel about things. So here is that tape. All right, here we go again. Marquise, and I believe Marquise, so let's not try to belittle the information or, try to explain things away. I'm past that with this facility. I know how abusive it is. And, of course, it's not right for a resident to have to live in an environment where he's being abused, not only by staff, but by other residents. So it goes to the federal government Monday morning. And Matt Simon slapped my son in the face. If y'all ain't like, well, I don't care whether you believe it or not. I believe it. And he's done it before. So it's a pattern. I don't know when it happened. It probably happened yesterday. But anyway, my son, this is a government facility that's supposed to have enough competence and ability to protect the residents and let them have a safe living environment. And they should be free of abuse from everybody. That's residential abuse from another resident. The staff shouldn't be abusing them, and another resident shouldn't be abusing them. So Matt Simon abused my son again, and y'all supposed to be able to have the competence to prevent that. That's what you're here for, to protect your residents and to prevent them from being abused by whoever, be it an animal or man. So he slapped him in the face, and he walked away. And like I said, this is a pattern. So it will be reported to the federal government and CMS. You receive federal funds, and you're not protecting my son. Plus, he said Evelyn almost restrained him. So whenever you see autistic individuals, well, probably because it's too big. Pardon me? Well, he said that, they almost tied him down and stuff. And so it's never his fault. So, well, I'm just telling you. Well, I have to teach all the time because nothing's getting done. This stuff, it keeps on. Obviously, people are being trained only on paperwork because they don't know how to implement the things to keep the residents safe. So it easily comes out. I'm not writing a statement or anything else. Well, I don't. Okay, well, he was slapped in the face by Matt Simon, so that was, like I said, he's not able to get the JOB done. He's getting abused. He's been abused by staff. Evelyn's a terrible worker because anytime you can't even deal with a family member, I know she can't deal with him, rolling her eyes all at me and all this kind of stuff. You keep these people on, these abusive staff members on when they need to be in jail for abusing because she verbally abused her, was trying to verbally abuse me until I set her straight. I don't even want that
been too busy, or you're verbally abusing him, or triggering him, or setting him off because you don't have competent people that work here. So that is, I thought I'd just let you know and stuff, because it's going to the federal government and it's going to CMS. Because you people receive federal funds to operate this place. This ain't all the state of Ohio. The federal government gives y'all money to properly and humanely and safely care for these residents. It ain't happened in Marquise Woods Tanksley's case. It ain't happened when he first arrived here, and it still ain't happening. And I'm going to report it. I'm not part of your system, like I told Heidi Hughes. It will not be swept under the rug. And God doesn't want it swept under. He's very angry at this place. Posting this place left and right. He's dealing with people. And this time, I'm seeing him do it. And Marquise is just a vessel, because he doesn't deserve that. The boy can't even, because that's resident abuse, no matter where it's coming from. So Matt Simon needs to be properly supervised and not be around my son when he's getting slapped in the face. And I know Marquise ain't lying, because y'all try to make these residents mice know, and you try to make them manipulative and just as crazy and crooked as you all are, the typical people. And I said, my son don't have that cognitive ability. He don't sit around trying to get people in trouble. And a lot of these MR, they just don't have the cognitive ability. So I know there's ignorance about disabilities in this facility by the so-called professionals, because the stuff wouldn't be happening the right way it's happening. But he doesn't sit around trying to make up things to get somebody in trouble. When I hear that from the superintendent, I thought, oh, good Lord, where did they get this one from and stuff? So Marquise is not just trying to get people in trouble and make people up, so don't go there with me. He has never went that route, and he doesn't have the cognitive ability. And I don't either, because when I say it, I back it up. I don't sit around trying to make up things about evil people. I just collect their ammunition and evidence. That's why I do it. So there you have it. And you can, smirk all you want to and stuff, and try to explain array and stuff. This is one of my favorites. I don't care if it's your favorite or not. The duty is, he's in a government facility, and he has the right to live in a safe, humane environment. And he has not been able to do that the day he arrived here. And it just continued even until yesterday. He was slapped in the face by the resident, probably verbally abused, and Evelyn probably was grabbing on him and stuff like that. He's hitting on the chair because you're triggering. That's why he's hitting on the chair. So, it just proves this place is just a piece of crap. And they've been treating my son like a piece of crap, 5 pieces of crap. And I'm not putting down Matt Simon stuff because he's a resident, but that's why you're here. Do your job. You're supposed to protect residents. There's no way they should be hitting and fighting and fussing and calling names and beating on each other and stuff. There's no way for that. There's no reason for that. You're not doing your job. So I thought I'd go ahead and tell you, so maybe you could try to investigate as an investigator or something like that. But there's some interventions need to be done. So my son, like I'm going to tell the federal government, continues to live in an unsafe facility that doesn't know how to protect him from abuse. They abuse him, residents abuse him, staff abuse him, and y'all paying federal funds to the state of Ohio to abuse my son. So I'll let them know. Thank you very much.
Now, that was the first time, and then I went back the second time to Ed Goodwin and told him that the staff member, one of the male staff members, said that there had been a problem, and that he had heard that they had a problem, Marquise and this resident named Matt Simon. So I went back and told Ed Goodwin and requested that Matt Simon not be around my son, since my son is getting physically abused by him. So, and I do have that on tape, so I'm going to try to find that one. Here you go. That's me coming back and saying hi to Marquise. And then I'm getting ready to leave and go right back to Ed Goodwin.
I'll be right back.
I am headed back to Ed Goodwin's office to make my request that Matt Simon not be around Marquise. Actually, I made it before when he had punched Marquise in the face in the past.
Oh yeah, one other thing I forgot to mention, and the white staff member, there's a T-John in there who did report abuse when Rasham attacked him and punched him and stuff, and that white male in there, he said that he had heard they had been, Marquise and Matt had maybe been arguing or had words. He couldn't tell me the whole thing. So again, I'm requesting that you keep that guy, Matt Simon, that resident, away from Marquise, because there has been a history of him punching my son, calling him a nigger, them going back and forth. And to keep them on that unit together after all these incidences is not the smart thing to do. You've been told, yeah, because that's what he said. It went back and forth and stuff. But, and that's enough to try to make people do an intervention. That's why I'm going to the federal government. I'm going to state because we all protect each other. We all know, I can write a book on this stuff. You can't prove God. I'm a Christian and you let me know what's going on. But, you don't ignore that. I don't want that Simon around my son. I don't care if he puts a king crown on him tomorrow. I don't want him around my son. Because y'all can't predict it. You never know when he'll go off on my son again and slap in his face. The interventions needs to be done. Thank you.
So there you have it. Me requesting Ed Goodwin, CDC investigator, to notify his employer for Marquise's well-being and actually for my son's. He has a federal right as a human being to be free from all abuse, be it man, beast, another resident, the staff, and of course he hasn't been. But it's never too late to start. Doesn't mean I'm going to sweep everything under the rug and stuff, but I'm still keep fighting for my son's survival and rights in such a terrible government facility. So I will be reporting this to the federal government, and because they need to know about it. They do have jurisdiction and some oversight, and they're paying the state of Ohio money. That facility is not being operated just by state funds. Every state gets federally funded in different agencies and different operations. And believe me, the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities is getting federal funds. So it will be going to a couple of federal agencies. And that's it. Look for the audio videos coming on Franklin County Board of Developmental Disability, Mike Snow and Heidi Hughes, Aaron Sanford, and Marquise's left forearm cyst has just, it felt like a hard pebble. It had just really shriveled up into a real hard mass on his arm. And he said, oh, it hurts. And he was really, really expressing that it hurt and that he was so sad that it's been hurting, and like, what are we going to do about this? And because it always hurts, the pain never goes away, it's always sore. So there'll be her tape coming out, how she says she can't stand mental health caseloads, and we're like, well, if you don't like mental health, how in the world are you going to deal with autistic person? Even though autism is not a mental health disorder, but it's more complex than I think some of the mental health cases and stuff. And then there's also going to be a tape on David Belinky, the deceased corrupted attorney that went after my guardianship along in concert with the county, the state, and he just abused his power. You know how they throw, oh, I'll file a motion real quick, and stuff. I'm an attorney, I can file a motion, no matter how much of of it is false and full of lies and everything else. You don't give sick people power like that. So there's a lot of sick people that have the ability to do that because of the jobs that they're in. But anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for listening, and to God be praised. Thank you.